Hello and welcome to the Farm Strategy and Monitoring Program. This is going to be a quick introduction to get you oriented to how things are going to work, the amount of time that you might want to budget to get necessary work done, as well as some backstory about how we develop this. My name is Oliver Gaucher, and I'll be your facilitator through this journey. My role in Climate Farmers is as the farm transition facilitator. And what this means on a day-to-day basis is that I'm making educational resources and support mechanisms for farmers who are in transition towards regenerative management of their land and businesses. In fact, that's exactly what this program is meant to help you to do as well. Now, my background is quite varied. I've had a lot of different roles and jobs in the last 15 years and have lived in many different places. For the last decade, though, I have focused my attention on working with land managers and farmers in 6 continents on over 30 countries to help them to develop and define success in ecological projects. I'm actually building a small farm in central Catalonia, and that's what you can see in the base map here in the presentation. The house is right here with a river running right through the middle, and we have quite a bit of diversity in these different disjointed plots that make up the land that I'm managing. I've also farmed in Australia, New Zealand, Guatemala, and volunteered on operations and different projects in many other countries as well. I'm especially passionate about bioregionally unique farming possibilities and land-race perennial breeding projects. And so some of the examples that I'll be giving throughout this program are of the experiments and the projects that I'm starting on this project of my own. Well, so let's get into the program now. Climate Farmers is still a pretty young company, but one of the things that we learned early on is that there are a lot of hurdles and obstacles for farmers who are working to transition towards regenerative management. Our main goal as a company is to make that transition as easy as possible and to offer support along the way so that you can find your unique vision of success for your land and your business. A couple of years ago, while I was setting up the Climate Farmers community, I was talking with a lot of the farmers in our network about the things that they struggle with. And I was seeing pressures both internally and externally that were making it difficult to understand whether some different practices or management techniques were actually being effective on their land. Over and over again, I was hearing that many farmers don't know where to start, and they think that Regen Ag is a list of principles and practices rather than a more holistic view on management. Now, we believe that ultimately, regenerative agriculture is farming that regenerates. Now, I realize that that sounds quite reductive, but what we have to then define with that definition is what is being regenerated, what is being restored, and how do we know if we're actually achieving those restoration goals? A lot of our community members have also voiced that they want better insights into the effects of their management and the way that it affects the ecology as well as the profitability of their farm and the health of the people that they work with. The farmers that I spoke to who are collecting data and measuring the progress have told me that they want a better way to store and organize and compare data in order to help them to make their decisions. And all of these ideas have come into this program, which is meant to then make it easier for you to understand your farm business more holistically and to make better decisions based on that renewed understanding. Now, like I mentioned before, there's also a lot of external factors that affect the success of many people's transition. The food industry, or as we call it, the agri-food system here in Europe, is consistently calling for verification. As new political pressure causes businesses to make pledges to meet climate targets, or to be able to make claims of supporting regenerative agriculture and general environmental movements, their ability to communicate what they are actually achieving, especially to customers and to regulators, is becoming extremely important. From our perspective, it's also essential that the claims that these companies are making are actually having an effect on the ground and to the people that they claim to serve, to avoid things like greenwashing. So from both sides, we're calling for higher standards, more transparency, and integrity in the reporting and the monitoring process. But the way that this has often been rolled out in previous attempts, or at least up until now, is that certain practices are incentivized, whether or not that they're appropriate for the farmers that they're being recommended to. And what ends up happening is that these larger companies or even governments start to dictate to farmers without understanding their context, and this can add unnecessary complexity and cost to the farmers that are being affected, without necessarily getting good results. And that's where we come in as a team as climate farmers. We really want to put farmers at the center of the discussion. We also want you as farmers to help us to communicate what your priorities are in regeneration so that we can communicate these then to the food industry and not in the reverse direction. We want to collect this aggregate data that will be reported through this program in order to get a wider and more accurate view of what knowledge and resources and practices and in what context people are being propelled through regeneration to get the results that they're looking for. This way, we will be better able to assist farmers in their transition, communicate these things effectively to policymakers and actors in the industry, and make this journey easier and smoother for everybody. So let's go quickly into what this program is and what it isn't. Well, first of all, it is not a knowledge-intensive online course. I have no ambition of trying to teach you how to farm or wade through all of the different possible practices and products that could or could not work in your context. Instead, it's a simple decision-making process that will help you both to organize, make more efficient, and to accelerate your learning journey as you go through progress on your farm. This is also not a one-size-fits-all. Even though there are a lot of templates and the steps in this program are uniform, the way that you go through developing them for yourself is meant to be customized. It's meant to be tailored to your experience and your needs. Though I've so far used the term regeneration and regenerative agriculture, that is not to make any distinction between people who are sometimes put in a box of conventional or industrial agriculture or organic or agroecology or biodynamic. There are so many different terms and practices and concepts out there that I want to focus more on what I think we can all agree on is important, which is the concept of health. How healthy is your land? How healthy is your business? And how healthy are the people involved in your operation? In this program, there aren't going to be any grades or certifications, and quite frankly, there's no clear completion or stop either. This is a cycle, and you will go through it as many times as you find value in it in order to accelerate your own learning and improvement journey. The 5 steps in this cycle are quite simple. Number 1 focuses on creating and communicating your unique context. This involves gathering essential information, articulating your goals and your vision for the future, and clearly communicating these with all of the decision makers in your organization so that everyone is able to take actions informed by a central common understanding. In step 2, you'll choose the metrics and measurements that you'll need to track in order to clearly understand whether you are moving closer to or further away from your goals. In step 3, you're going to create a strategy for managing your farm based on the actions and the techniques that you believe will move you closer to your goals in the most effective way. We'll look at frameworks for decision making and how to design experiments to prove or disprove the efficacy of your actions in the field. Step 4 then moves the strategy into a tangible plan that you can take action on. Here we'll clarify the details of schedules, budgets, monitoring, and tasks so that everything flows smoothly out in the fields and you feel well prepared. In step 5, we'll look at how to review the information that you've gathered and all the observations that you've made in this process. This will be used to inform future strategies as your farm management becomes more effective every season. Remember that this program is a cycle, so you can go back and refine each one of these steps as you go through different seasons on your farm. This is meant to ensure constant, verifiable learning, reflection, and adaptation in order to build a management strategy that brings you ever closer to your unique definition of success. Now, due to the diversity of farms and farmers, I want to meet you where you are currently at. Just because this is the order of the cycle, it does not mean that this is where everyone is going to start right at step 1. It's much more important for me to help you to find your starting point that's appropriate to where you're at right now. This way, you can hit the ground running in what is appropriate to the place, the time, and the awareness that you are already at, rather than having everybody start at the same place. Here in this first introduction week, there's only one activity that I would recommend that you do. There's a link right under this video in the knowledge library to help you to determine where the best place for you to begin your journey is. Now remember that this program is meant as a guide for important considerations and decision making. It should also serve as a template for you to adapt and personalize. And along the way, I'll be giving you a lot of support resources to help you to customize this journey and get the most out of it. Every Monday during this 6-week program, there will be a weekly group call so that you can ask questions, we can go through examples together, and all of this is oriented to helping you stay caught up and prepared for the tasks of each week. In each step, you're going to find worksheets, tutorial videos, and resources that make completion and advancement all that much easier. At any point during this program, you can reach out for specific recommendations on supplemental learning material. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not going to be giving you a lot of knowledge and information on techniques or products or practices that are specific to your way of farming, but that doesn't mean I can't point you in the right direction to find those things. We have a very broad network here in Climate Farmers, and I can help to match you with coaches, consultants, and mentors for dedicated support. We can also help you get questions answered and connections made with the larger community here at Climate Farmers so that you can find support in your local community. And if you're looking to go deeper into certain learning subjects, I can also make recommendations on online and in-person courses from other people in our network. Now, some of you might also be participating in our rebate program. And the reason why we make this available is because this program and the digital tool called the Farm Health Report Card are still in development stages. The reason why we're making this available now before it's all finished and tidied up is because we want the farmers who participate in this program to help us to develop these resources and give us direction about where the priorities are, where we should put our efforts, and what is really useful and helpful. So in order to be eligible for the 50% rebate by the end of this 6-week program, there's only 3 simple things that you have to do. The first is to create your profile and fill out your unique context. You can do this through the Farm Health Report Card. Likewise, in there, you'll be able to fill in at least the first values for all of your baseline metrics. This helps to establish a starting point that acts as a snapshot for the health of your farm as it currently is and gives you a measuring point by which to weigh the progress that you'll be having in the future. And by the end, we request that you complete the end of the program survey. This is a really important way for us to gather feedback and ideas from you so that we can constantly improve this program and the resources included in it. So as I mentioned, the layout for this program gives 1 week per step plus 1 week of margin with 6 weeks in total. This week of introduction right now does not count for those, so technically there's 7 weeks. This first one is for you to get oriented and to navigate around the platform so that you know how to find all the resources. In general, I recommend that you put aside somewhere between 4 or 5 hours per week to plan on getting through all of the content and completing the tasks in each step. This time commitment will vary based on a couple of factors. First of all, if you've already done some of these steps ahead of time, you're going to breeze through a lot quicker. If you already have some of your own tools or processes that mean that you don't need to use the ones that we recommend, you'll also be able to save time. And lastly, the complexity of the experiments or the metrics that you choose to measure for your strategy are also going to affect the amount of time that it takes. If you choose just to do the basics this first time around, like I said, maybe 4 to 5 hours per week, so count on maybe 1 full morning or 1 full afternoon reserved to make sure that you don't fall behind. And that's it for this introduction. In the next video, I'll give you an orientation to the workplace platform so that you feel comfortable navigating the space and finding all of the resources for each step.